Sorry? Hey, excuse me?
What can I get for you, sweetheart?
No, I'm not.
What can I get you, sir?
No, please. I'm looking for the dealer.
You want to play a game?
Yes.
Do I side the Rocky Art machine?
Thank you.
The usual?
Excuse me. Sorry, excuse me. I'm looking for Lucian Ace.
Most people call me Lucky.
Right. Hi. I'm
The Archivist.
Yes. I was hoping you could answer some questions for me.
And what do I get out of it?
What do you want?
Well, I never took down a game.
Right. Of course. I've heard about you and I was thinking Texas Hold.
Archivist. I know better than to play cards with one of your all-seeing eyes.
What?
I'm choosing the game.
Of course. If it's not a card game, then what? Oh my god!
Don't worry, there's only one bullet in it. You ask your question, press the muzzle to your temple, spin the cylinder, and if you're still breathing after the click, you'll get your answer.
Do you have any questions for me?
That was a question. Go ahead. Try your luck.
What? No. I wasn't playing.
I don't tolerate cheating, Archivist. Cheaters beaten far worse than this.
But... What?
Careful what you say, Archivist. They might be your last words. You have a good shot. It's 1 in 6. But if you can't handle my games...
What do you want to know?
I want to know what makes you worth the risk Gertrude took when she fired Elias Bouchard.
Elias Bouchard died.
I know. Why are you so special?
Elias Bouchard was never suited to be head archivist. He was a manipulative, unreliable mess, dragging the archive down with his poor leadership and questionable habits.
Did Gertrude tell you that?
Is that a question?
Rumor has it that Gertrude killed Elias. I never learned why, so that's why I want to understand. That's why I'm playing Archivist. I'm here for answers, just like you. Your turn.
Did you kill Heather Lone last year?
Heather Lone. I never care for the names, but yes. It wasn't personal, it rarely is. I simply owed Peter Lucas a favor. Nothing is so lonely than being left behind. I don't like to get my hands dirty, but I challenged her to a game of cards. And I won.
You killed an innocent woman.
No one is innocent, Archivist. Or do you believe you are?
No. Maybe 2 years ago, or before I started at the Institute, I could have said I was. But now... not anymore. I've seen too much, and too many people have died. Because of me. I don't think I can escape what I'm becoming, but I can understand it. and maybe then I can change it. You keep calling me Archivist. Obviously I'm supposed to be this. But I don't know what this is.
Then ask.
What am I?
You are part of something far bigger than you realize, far beyond your senses. As a servant of the eye, you are bound to uncover it all eventually. But you are afraid, aren't you? The audience only stays safe when the story isn't about them. This one is about you, Archivist. And well, la audiencia se renueva. Your God doesn't feed from violence or deception. It comes from paranoia, from being watched, followed, having your deepest secrets exposed. It's a painful need to know, even if what you discover could destroy you. Do you know what happens when you avoid it?
I don't. I try to avoid it, but the days I go without knowing, without recording, I feel weak. Like something's draining me, pulling me back. No matter how hard I try to step away.
Because you need to feed it. You are doing it now. Don't think I haven't noticed that device on your bag. Conveniently placed on the table. Come on, go ahead. There we go.
What's your statement?
Let me help you, Archivist.
Statement of Lucian Lucky Ace regarding some helpful information. Recorded direct from subject, April 24th, 2017. Statement begins.
All things end. My master isn't more complicated than that. I thrive off the constant dance between life and death. The end is the oldest and by far the most passive of the gods. Its influence isn't glaring, but it's everywhere. Unavoidable. That's my domain. No tricks, no sudden violence, just the cruel inevitability of the end. I've seen it all play out. The way life cuts off midstream. The casino is a mere metaphor of the risks and chances of life. I suppose you could say I ended up here by chance. My uncle was the one with the gambling addiction, and I watched as he took risks he couldn't afford, which inevitably consumed him. My parents were out of the picture soon after I was born, and that's when my uncle hit the jackpot with me. Do you know why I am called lucky? It's because I never lose a game. My uncle wasn't always a terrible player. No one starts that way. You always win your first game, just enough to get you hooked. At first, he played occasionally, more for the social aspect than anything else. He got cocky with the chips and loved to show off. It was a chance to hang out with the older men. Cigars in hand, scotch on the table. He used to tell me he would win money to fly us back home, start a new life. His homeland, a land of opportunities, he'd say to me. My country was going through the worst recession in its history. People were robbing the stores, the pot was boiling. Soon enough, civil unrest was the topic on everyone's lips. We needed the money for food, or so he told me. He taught me how to play, how to bet, and how to take risks. It was never about skill or cheating, just luck. Sure, you needed to know the rules, and it didn't hurt to be friendly with the dealer or spend more on bribes than chips. But when you're dealt a bad hand, no higher power is coming to save you. I was 9, maybe 10 at most, when I first caught the sour stench of spilled whiskey and stale cigarettes. I remember the computerized music of the slot machines, the endless rhythm of wins and losses, and the sound of coins hitting the floor, rolling dice, flipping cards, betting chips. Different people with the same fate in one place. Losing. Another lady wasted her whole retirement on those machines, always doing another spin when the first one didn't succeed. She'd get pity wins, those that go directly back into the game because she didn't even consider taking them out. I'd watch the symbols reflecting her glasses, that old bony hand reach for another spin and the northern cousin straight after. She'd always order a dirty martini, which I bought her, and I stayed to watch as her life spun away on the machine. The sound of a new spin was embedded within the music from the machine, and when the rhythm faltered, I knew she was dead. The woman lay slumped forward, the flickering lights of the screen casting stark shadows on her face. Her frail hands still grasped the lever, too weak for one more spin. Her drink had spilled across the console, shorting out the machine. The game was out of order for weeks, until her children came to settle her debts. It was always about the money. My uncle owed the house and half the people outside it more than he could count. He borrowed from everyone, family, strangers, anyone who'd give him a loan. Winning just once wasn't enough. Every time he made a little, it went straight back into the house. Blackjack was his favorite. He always thought he had a chance. When the cards turned against him, he'd bring his own deck, trying to sneak them into the game and fool the dealer into handing him a win. I watched as he tried to stack the odds, and even asked me to help rig the game, when I wasn't even old enough to play. His desperation grew with every loss, and the tension in the air became unsettling. It was like he was chasing a ghost, always just out of reach. The thrill of the gamble consumed him, but it also clouded his judgment. I saw him lose everything: his friends, his reputation, and eventually his grip on reality. I was all he had, his lucky charm, he used to call me, at least until he promised me to the house. They needed a busboy, and my uncle was out of cash. I was too young to work, but old enough to understand. I've seen it before. The cycle. The way these games don't just chase players, they chase families. I'm not here against my will. Not anymore. The casino owner treated me with more kindness than my uncle ever had. They gave me a place in their world, a role to play in this grand game. I'd go home, catch a few hours of sleep, and still find my uncle sitting at the tables when I returned. I've seen people gamble away their trust funds and life savings on a game of dice. Once I watched a man die in the middle of a game. He was an overweight guy, probably in his early 50s, playing another round of baccarat. I'd been working for the house for about 3 years when it happened. It wasn't even in my pit, I caught it across the room, but I saw everything. The concerned crowd gathering, the EMTs rushing in, all the usual motions you'd expect. I thought it was my uncle, and for a moment, I hoped for it. The man had the misfortune of dying right on a live crab's table, during the middle of a hot roll. People complained when the game stopped. They kept it running, even as the EMTs did their work. Players were stepping over the man's dead body to place their bets. As a dealer, I've learned the rules better than anyone else. I know when to shuffle slow, when to deal with caution, and when to let the cards fall in silence. And when my uncle sat at my table for the last time, I dealt him his final loss. A jagged game of Texas Hold'em. Bad cards, worse bets, and no way out. I watched him lose with the same impatient gaze I give every player, though part of me wanted to tell him to fold. But here's the thing about the house. We don't stop dealing as long as there are bets to take. And when the cards run out, so did his luck. The house deals in more than cards and chips, and when a debt can be paid, my boss has his own methods of collecting what's owed. I don't know how he finally went out. I never asked. I watched people come into my casino but never out. Once you felt the risk of death, the urge to test your luck becomes a hunger. People bet their whole life on cards, and I watch them lose the light in their eyes. Life is a chance, unpredictable with every turn of the cards or roll of the dice. Death is a risk, a consequence lurking in the shadow. In the end, no matter how you play, fate always wins. There's no point in avoiding your death. It's inevitable. Those who try to tend to meet a worse fate than the one dealt out to them. It's not the death itself, but the paranoia, waiting for the moment of doom they've been predicted, practicing what they'll do once it comes to avoid the inevitable. Death isn't biased. It simply claims what has reached its time. I pity those fools who believe they can cheat death. I rarely interfere, but sometimes it needs a little push.
Statement ends. So, like the coming end cult, you're part of the...
¿Me? Escuchame una cosa, pendeja. Don't put my name with those fools. I had nothing to do with Oliver's death call. Por más que me caiga en una cloaca, me levanto y vuelo a rosas, mi amor. Dreaming about how people died made him miserable, and he was stupid enough to get in the way of it. When word got out that there was a messiah with knowledge of how everyone dies, of course, it joined the fools, no, idiots, who thought they could cheat death if they just knew the how. But none of them ever asked the real question. Why? Oliver Banks. That's why.
Oliver Banks. He was like Thomas Pritchard. And Antonio...
It's all the same, ese pendejo pelotudo. I don't care what names he called himself. It's all just a facade. Oliver Banks thought he could outrun the end, that he could save the people from their fates. But all he did was lead them to their graves sooner. You tell someone how they are going to die, and they'll obsess over it, fixating on their death instead of cherishing everything they survived along the way. Oliver didn't grasp the fear he instilled in people. Unwittingly, he was feeding the end. So he made up tales about what happens after death to calm their fears. They started to worship him for it. It was all too much for little Ollie, so he ran. A coward, I tell you. He thought he could hide behind pseudonyms when his followers came looking for him. He brought it all upon himself. His little death call spiraled out of control, and he couldn't handle it. He ran crying to his little lover boy, and he ended up causing more harm than he ever did as a cult leader. Es así. Como te ven, te tratan. Si te ven mal, te maltratan. He was throwing everything out of balance. People were praising death instead of living. I couldn't stand by and watch, so I asked Peter Lucas to tear down his safety net. I couldn't have that little boyfriend hiding him, so I needed him erased, wiped from existence, worse than death, forgotten, replaced. This would leave Oliver alone for me to take care of. He died in his sleep, finally resting with a bullet lodged in his head. And that's what happens when you try to fight it, Archivist. You can't.
I think I get it now. You killed Oliver Banks, and you killed Graham Folger, because people weren't afraid of death. Your God isn't about death. It's about the fear of it. You thrive on people's dread, and when Oliver started easing that fear, you had to destroy him. All this time you could have killed me, but you haven't. Because it's more satisfying for you to watch me tremble in fear than to actually harm me. Death, the fear of it, the inevitability of everything ending, of everything decaying. This is just a game for you. You feed off my paranoia, my terror at the thought of that bullet, rather than the act of it piercing my skull. Once I'm dead, there's nothing left for you to consume. You need me to be terrified of dying, not dead. There's not even a bullet in here, is there? Fuck! 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 Holy shit! What the hell? You goddamn cunt! Oh my god, there's so much blood!
Si querés llorar, llora. You think this is some kind of trick? A hoax? Let me be clear, Archivist. My games are real. My rules are final. And I don't tolerate cheaters.
You shot me in the hand!
Next time, it will be your head.
Oh my god!
Lucky, Ambrose is on the phone.
Tell him to go fuck himself. I'm off for the day. ¿Qué se creen que tengo 20 años? Bastante esfuerzo hago, carajo mierda.
I think I need to go to the hospital.
You survived. Consider yourself lucky.